designing the advertising methods in digital media to curb environmental deterioration, in which I am here on the behalf of Project PI, Dr. Manish Arora, uh, from Department of Applied Art, Faculty of Visual Art, Banaras Hindu University. And today session is about environmental deterioration and its management, which is going to be held with Dr. Prashant Kumar Srivastava, sir. Sir is co-PI in this project, and he is also assistant professor at Institute of Environment and Sustainable Development, Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi. So as we learned in previous lectures about environment and its association with the advertisement and the concerns and how to deal with it, and many things which is related to digital carbon emission and digital advertising method and digital advertising. So today we are going to learn about, as we know, we heard many times about the environmental concerns like resource scarcity, climate change, etc. So today with Sir, we are going to know about know about more environmental deterioration and its management, how to deal with it. So I would like to begin with the question, a basic question: what is exactly environmental degradation? So, sir, please start with your words.
Thank you, Dr. Manish Arora, for organizing such a.
Sir, please unmute.
I think my mic
Okay,
is
okay.
unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello. Okay. Thank you to Dr. Manish Arora and Pius for such a nice introduction. And I'm really glad that this type of activity is going on in BHU for protection of environmental degradation. And if you see the topic of this conference, it's like it is on digital advertising and digital carbon emission. That is the overall the name of this project that is going on under the umbrella of Impress project that is awarded by Ministry of Education. And if you see, my topic is like environmental deterioration and management. Why I choose this topic? Because currently we can see that a lot of things happen in our environment, and because of that, we are facing a lot of issues in terms of uh, heat stress, in terms of flood, in terms of drought, in terms of so many other things that is going in and around in our day-to-day life. For example, if you see currently Varanasi is going through a heavy flood situation. So what is the reason of that flood? Why we are getting such type of disastrous event in our country or anywhere in the world? Because it is due to the thing that we call as environmental degradation or environmental deterioration. So if you go with the topic that what is exactly this environmental deterioration or degradation is, it is the depletion of resources. For example, such as the quality of air, water, and soil, of destruction of our ecosystem, habitat destruction, extinction of wildlife, and pollution. So changes in all these forms cause a problem with our environment also. So here, like if you see our things in our Varanasi region also. If you see quite a long back, 30 years back, 40 years back, see that you will find a lot of vegetation in and around BHU or in the Varanasi city. But now after 20, 30 years of time span, we can see now we have more concrete forest as compared to natural forest. We call as concrete jungle in more basic term. And if you see the impact of those on our day-to-day life, that we are having now more waterlogging problems, we are having more waste problem, we are having more this environmental or groundwater depletion. So all are linked with our degradation of the environment, because if there is no forest, no plant cover, how we'll get a good amount of groundwater discharge? We can do rainwater harvesting, but again we are that is a you can use that water, but again that rainwater is a part of our river stream. If we blocked out all those rainwater in form of harvesting or something, then it will again cause environmental degradation or degradation of our river system. So in short, environmental degradation we call as a depletion of our environmental or natural resources that should be protected to having a bright future ahead and for our generation and next generation. And that's why we propose this project, that how we can use this digital technology or digital advertising technology so that people can understand more about this uh, type of deterioration and degradation. And I think we are working in direction so that we can provide a good communication to the our public partners, our stakeholders, our government, so that they can save our environment.
Thank you, sir, for showering us with knowledge and information, fruitful information about environmental degradation. So, moving to the next question that come into the mind: what are the major environmental problems?
So, as I can say that a lot of major environmental problems are there. As I can see now, we are much aware of these issues, and we are doing this type of study from our class time. Like in 7, 8, it is started now. How to save environment. Even in if you see the basic school book, that they are now focusing on some of the aspect that kids or children can understand. So, if you go with a broad way of understanding this problem, what is actually responsible for degradation, then you can see one of the major factor is urbanization. Why urbanization is one of the major factor? We know that I told you that what is my basic area of research is satellite remote sensing. I am working more on remote sensing aspect, and this remote sensing is quite a good tool to understand the things on a very broad scale. Means from satellite you can monitor a large area in a very short interval of time. So if you see satellite images or data of last 40 years, so in 1980 if you see, and now in 2020 if you see, that what is the forest cover left for our land. For example, if you see that in 1980 we have a lot of forest cover exist in the Varanasi. I'm just taking example of Varanasi. And now if you see that that forest cover we lost at a considerable percentage. So if you see before that and now is a lot of changes. And because of why these changes happened, because due to urbanization. This urbanization causes a lot of changes in our day-to-day life. And because this of because of this urbanization now, because population is going at a very rapid scale in India, and if population increasing, then we need resources, because everybody want to drink, everybody want to eat. And if population is so much high, then from where we get the resources? So it is like if there is a population explosion like this happen in India. So because of this now, more people need more built up area, more houses. So how will they will get more houses? So of course they have to cut their agricultural area, they have to cut their uh, forest area, and then they make buildings and roads and other infrastructure. So because of this urbanization, now we are having more heating effect. If you see, or if you enter in, maybe most of you from BHU, so if you see that whenever we enter in BHU in past 10 years, then whenever we enter, we get a 2 or 3 degrees centigrade difference in temperature inside the BHU. But now when you enter, you will that the difference is not that much. Previously, whenever we enter in the campus, we have, oh, it is a quite a cool campus because of lot of diversity, life, lot of trees, lot of uh, grounds. But now everything is because of demand is not going, more buildings are coming up, more hostels are coming up. So now we are losing our forest cover, tree cover, as well as our ground. So this is one of the aspect that we cause environmental degradation, because if we don't have trees, we don't have ground, we don't have agricultural area, then what will happen? That we will lose our. As I told, that plants are the most important source of groundwater recharge, because their roots are inside the ground. Whenever there is a rainfall or something, it traps water and then it recharges our groundwater. So if there is no such type of cover is there, then how will get that recharge? Secondly, because we have lot of household and lot of building built, so whenever there is a rainfall, we having a lot of flooding problem. Why we are having that type of water logging and flooding problem? Because our natural path of those water are now blocked. So if you see that water or anything always move from their higher slope to their lower slope, means higher altitude to lower altitude. And when you build houses in the lower altitude or lower elevation area, then whatever rain is going down, it will be blocked by the buildings. So what is going with the Ganga river also, that most of the floodplain, we call it floodplain, and Ganga river has a very broad floodplain, and generally it is not advisable to build houses in those floodplain. Why? Because whenever there is a monsoon, there is a rise in water, that floodplain will be flooded. That's why we call it floodplain. And if you have your house in that floodplain, then what happened? You will say that it is a flood, but actually that is a not flood. That is you are living in the river or river vicinity, and you can say that is a floodplain area. So that's why we are having a lot of problem in current situation, because we are Bronx's facing a lot of flood, because all the blocks, all the paths are now blocked because of our means careless activities. We are using a lot of plastics, we are using a lot of things that we are putting in the drain, and that cause blockage. So because of that blockage, whenever there is a rain, our drains get flooded, and that flooded water now you can see in the city. Similarly, we also block the path of Ganga river in just floodplain. So whenever Ganga river is level is going high, water is also coming up. So we are facing flooding from two sources. One from our city, we don't have proper drainage. Everything is all water now on the road, and other thing is river Ganga. River Ganga again putting more water in the building areas. So that's why, because of two-sided activities, we are getting a lot of flooding in Varanasi issue. So you can say it is one of the reason that our environment is degraded, because if we don't have proper drainage, proper other thing, then there will be a problem. Similarly, if you see maybe that there is a Assi river, previously we call it Assi river, because it is one of the major drainage that feed up our river Ganga. But now if you see the Assi river, now we call it Assi Nala, because its dimension is so much reduced. Now it is a shape of nala instead of being a river. And if you see the path of this Assi river or Assi Nala, then you can see that most of the path, now people build the houses. So if there is a houses built up on the river path, then where the water will go? So that is another issue, that if you block the drainage of the main river system, then whatever water is coming up, they are not getting proper path to go to the river. So it will again cause flood. Secondly, because a lot of waste, lot of things are going in this Assi river, it is also creating environmental issues in terms of air quality. There is a lot of air pollution because of this. If you cross that Assi Nala or Assi river, then you will find a lot of foul smell is coming up. Why that foul smell is coming up? Why anything is giving foul smell? Until unless that water is stagnant or their flow is not that good, then it will give you foul smell, because in stagnant water things start degrading, and that give you foul smell. So that is the reason that now Assi Nala is blocked, and because it is blocked or it flows not that good, it is giving a lot of air quality problem, lot of water quality problem. Those who have hand pump near that Assi Nala or Assi river, because that heavy metals and then water, that bad quality water is now infiltrated into the groundwater, and if you pump and drink that groundwater, of course you will get a bad quality, because all the waste, all the heavy metal, all the bad things are now going inside that system. So that is another thing, that we are getting a lot of this issue. So this is one cause that environmental degradation happened. And another thing is like intensification of agricultural system. Like if you see quite a few years back, that our agricultural area is less, but our forest area are very high as compared to that. But once we are having more agricultural areas, and because our population is going up, so we need more food. And if you need more food, then you will use more fertilizers, more pesticide in those agricultural areas. So what happened? That plant need only some amount of fertilizer, only some amount of pesticide. But if you are putting too much inside that, then what happened? That some quantity will be used, and whenever there is a irrigation, there is a rainfall, then all those fertilizer pesticide will go inside the groundwater, and again it will cause that pollution. And if you heard about that in few months back, water becomes green. Maybe I don't know whether you saw that news or not. It is quite highlighted that why Ganga River become green. So if you see that because of intensification of agriculture and industrial activities, lot of uh, runoff. What we call runoff, whenever there is a rainfall, then it dissolve our fertilizer in the agriculture. It dissolve pesticide, and then all go inside the river. And whenever there is a high fertilizer going inside the river through runoff or through rain, then there is a growth of phytoplanktons. Phytoplanktons means algae and all those things. And if there is a lot of algae and other things in the ground, it will cause that river issues, because that we call as eutrophication. Eutrophication means growth of algae and other forms of plant life because of high fertilizer, and it causes green color of the Ganga river. So we need to focus on all those things, how we can reduce or how we can use only fertilizer that is fast in degradation, like biofertilizers. Biofertilizer are a good option that can uh, degrade it very fast, and it will not cause harm to our ecosystem. And then we need to focus on some other activities also. And then other activity that we are currently going with, energy issue. Every time whenever there is a light cut, oh, light is not there, all get annoyed. Why all we get annoyed? Because we there is now number. Previously there are households are very less, but now number of household or they are increased, so energy consumption is also increased. So to meet the electricity demand and all those things, we need more power plants, we need more nuclear plants. And whenever we are using more nuclear plants, power plants, there will be a issue of waste. So it also cause that issues. So, but we also say that we should not reduce our development. But how we can do a development that is more, environmental friendly? That is the biggest challenge that we are facing now, and that cause a lot of degradation. Secondly, transportation. Most of the urban areas, city area, Delhi, and all those things places are facing a lot of environmental air pollution, because if we count the number of vehicles passing through a road in Delhi, that it is more than 2000, 3000 in a 5 minute or 1 hour time. So if you see a lot of vehicles are passing 100,000 in a only short interval of time, so where those emissions will go? Because all those cars, all those vehicles need fuel, and if those fuels are burned up, they will give CO2 and all those the CO, carbon monoxide, all those things. So where all those will go? They will go in the air, and that's why Delhi is facing a lot of air pollution. And not Delhi now, even you see Varanasi is also facing or going through the same issue. Because if you see Varanasi city, our development is not, you can say, horizontal. City is not spreading. City is just doing a vertical development now. So if city is spreading, then there is a expansion in the spatial area. But if it is a vertical development, then you will get lot of household in a very small area. So energy consumption will be high. They have more vehicles. If you see flat system in any flat, you will get around 30 to 40 houses. In just a small area, will have around 30 40 flats. And in 30 40 flats, there are number of people. They are using car. They are using several other devices. So it will also cause that pollution. There will be problem in transportation, there will be a problem in of traffic jam and so many other issues. So this list is endless. If I start discussing, I will take whole day. But environmental degradation can be caused by so many other things, like from agriculture, population, industry, urbanization, energy use, and so many other things.
Thank you, sir. As you mentioned, the reasons, the major reason behind this problem, like urbanization, deforestation, construction, and careless construction, that vertical expansion. So these all things are actually telling us these are the human errors. These are the mistake that is made by human. So as per my understanding, I think the human activities actually more responsible for this problem. So how if we are going toward neutralize this issue, so like this, if we see this is a disaster, so how we can link with the human activities to this disaster to make it neutral.
Thank you, Piyush, for raising an important question. That, as far as understand, and if we see, nature is responsible for their own activities, and nature has a very good cope-up mechanism. Suppose if there is a why that river have floodplain, because that is a natural thing, and river or nature know that whenever there is a during the monsoon season there will be a increase in volume of the rivers, so they have a floodplain. So whenever there is an increase in volume, river are fully filled up. So where water, that extra water go, that go to the floodplains. So they have cope up mechanism. Similarly, if you have a forest fire in the jungles or in the forest, then what happen? Whenever there is a forest fire, after some time succession happens. Succession means growth of new plants. Succession happens, and slowly it give you a lot of uh, extra vegetation to that forest. So if you see, for example, during the forest fire, they get forests get rid of the uh, species that are invasive. Invasive is not required in that area. Because of forest fire, the forest is getting new nutrient sources. So and then there is a rain, then they get other plenty of you can say vegetation. So they have a cover mechanism. If forest fire is natural, but sometimes what happen, that because of our activity, like I mentioned that in a Ganga river basin, if you see in Varanasi, that people are now make their houses in the floodplains. I don't know how that they get permission to make the houses in the floodplain, because that is not allowed up to us some area that is we call it buffer zone. In buffer area or in the floodplain area, building of houses are not allowed. So I will not say other thing, but that is not allowed and that is illegal. And if there is a uh, high amount of flooding or high amount of rainfall coming, some year we have less amount of rainfall, some year we have large amount of rainfall. And again, that is linked with our climate change because of lot of vehicles, lot of fossil fuel burning, lot of other activities. We are having issues with the climate change also, because if you see temperature in past 10-20 years, and if you see temperature now, it is increased by nearly 2 to 3 degrees centigrade if you see the average temperature. And 2 to 3 degrees centigrade is quite high, I'm telling you. It's quite serious and quite high temperature that can create a lot of problem, disaster in our situation. For example, if you have temperature 1 degree centigrade, water is like in liquid form, but change in 1 degree centigrade will cause water to freeze if we go to 0 degree centigrade. Similarly, in our body, if we temperature is just rise by 1 degree centigrade, 2 degree centigrade, what will happen? It will create a lot of problem. Even people can die because of this 2 degree centigrade rise in temperature. So it is a quite serious issue. That's why now we have to meet up that heating. We have now having air conditioner, cooler in our houses. Previously, we don't have this type of thing, because if temperature is going very high, then our body cannot respond at that faster rate, and it will cause several type of uh, diseases or disorders. So uh, our human activity is one of the main cause that cause which is causing this environmental degradation. And as I'm taking example of this river flooding in Ganga, that we have now houses in the floodplain, and whenever there is a rise in the water in the river Ganga, we call it also it's a flood, it's a flood, it's a flood. But it's not actually a flooding. River is just having a high volume of water. And if you inside you're building inside the river body, then of course you will be drowned. So we need to plan our activities, we need to control the corruption, and we need to do all these things to so that we can having a better human and ecosystem balance. If you are using more ecosystem resources or environmental resources without giving a proper credit to the environment, then we will face problem. And that's why it is more anthropogenic or human induced than you can say natural.
Thank you, sir. We as a human, we must understand that there is nothing unlimited. Everything is limited. So it should be responsibility of every mankind to consume everything with care. So next, we heard a term that is very trendy, sustainable development, which is actually addressing by many speakers, policymakers, government, and organization. So, if we talk about sustainable development, then what are the sustainable development technology? That is a question which I would like to ask you, sir.
And thank you, Piyush, for asking a very relevant question. So, why this sustainable development word come and why it is being coined? So if you see this sustainable development, that we need some form of development which is socially accepted, economically feasible, and environmentally sound. So these are the three things that we need to have in our mind before developing any technology. And we call as three sphere of um, sustainable development. First is like any technology that you are developing should be environmentally sound. Second thing, it should be economically feasible. For example, if you are going to dig a mine, and if you are after digging a mine, you get a gold which is cost you only give you profit of only 1 lakh, but digging give takes a cost of around 5 lakhs. So that is not economically good. You are putting 1 lakh, getting 1 lakh, but you are putting to 5 lakh expenditure to get that gold. So that is, you can say, economically not feasible. Second thing, environmentally sound means whenever you are developing any technology that should not cause much harm to the environment. Then we call it okay, that technology environmentally sound. So we can go ahead with that. And secondly, socially accepted. Socially accepted means whatever you are going to develop, whether that is accepted by general public or not. So if you are meeting all these three primary spheres, then we can say that development is sustainable or that technology is sustainable. Otherwise, we need to rethink that technology. For example, if we see that we, in with DIC Design and Innovation Center, maybe you know that there is a center running in BHU. We call it Design and Innovation Center, and we are doing a lot of activities to promote technology which are sustainable. Sustainable means in low cost, it provide large benefit to the users like our stakeholders, public, and then we can develop that in a very low cost. So we are meeting all the three goals through this innovative projects so that we will not uh, harm much to the environment. We are getting a lot of profit in terms of startup, another thing, and that is also we are thinking that is socially accepted. Means it um, reduce the effort given by the farmers, given by the other stakeholders, so that they can save time and get more profit. So that is one of the things that we are doing with Design Innovation Center. So for example, I'm taking example of our prototype or thing that I developed during this design and innovation thing. That if you see our farmers are basically doing flood irrigation practices. Flood irrigation means uh, they go in the night whenever there is a requirement of irrigation. They go in the night and open their tube wells. Tube wells means for irrigation, and they left it for 3 hours, 4 hours, and when the field get flooded, they close the tube wells. So what happened? We extracted a lot of groundwater from the system because those tube wells are basically sucking up our groundwater, and we are using it for irrigation. Now you will say, irrigation is required, because if there is a no irrigation, there is a loss of crop yield, and it will cause a lot of problem to our food system or food supply. But if you do a careful research of that subject, that any crop generally, most of the crop, they need only 50% of their field capacity. Field capacity in terms of, like, suppose you have a pot, we call as gamla, with some plant. So whenever you put water in that pot, what happen? that that pot absorbs some water, then you add some more water, it again absorbs. But if you put more water, then that pot will not absorb anymore. Why? Because saturation of the soil happened. So if saturation of the soil happened, then if you add more water, it will come outside that pot. So whenever you add more, and it is at some point that all the pores of the soil get filled. And if you add more water, that will not be absorbed by uh, that plant. It will go outside that pot. So that we call it saturation. When that soil will not absorb any water, then we say that that soil is saturated. Same thing happened with the field also. That when you add water, it absorb, and sometime it will not absorb. It get flooded. So we call it, as saturation point, we call it field capacity. That is the capacity of field to absorb that water. That we call, in other terms, we call as maximum capacity of a soil to absorb water is called field capacity. So that is not that field capacity we can get much before that flooding happened. And if you see a careful research of that irrigation practices, that only 50% of that field capacity is needed for a good growth of the crop. So instead of giving 50%, we are giving 150% to that field. So there is a loss of nearly 100% of water. Means a field needed only one, but we are providing 2.5 unit of water. So we are actually wasting 1.5 unit of water, because groundwater is very serene, very pure. If you take that water inside that system, and when it comes out, interacted with the air and outer surface, it gets contaminated. You cannot use that water again for drinking and other purpose, because that get contaminated because of fertilizer, pesticide, air pollution, so many other things. You cannot use that water. So then we develop a application, or it is based on satellite and all those things, that we are using satellite information, so that we can provide a specific information to the farmers through a application, Android application, that how much amount of water is needed to your field and when it is needed. Means we are providing both time as well as quantity. So we are trying to promote this application through Krishi Vigyan Kendra, so many other workshop and agricultural conferences, so that farmers have that app in their mobile, and then can know, no, it's a time of irrigation, and we don't have to do flood irrigation. Go for only 50% of that irrigation, we will get a sufficient yield. So what happened, that we are using satellite technology, other technology, so that is actually a sustainable technology. We are not using any resources from the environment and all those things. Secondly, because it is now used by the government, so our farmers, it is socially accepted, and cost is very less. App is free, only you need a mobile, and now everybody has smartphone. It start from 2000 rupees to, so minimum 2000 rupees, so you can go up to any amount, but you can get a smartphone in 2000, 3000 rupees, and app is free, you can download it. So we are trying to develop, or we are promoting through DIC the technologies which are actually having this sustainable, or following this sustainable development goals. So we call it sustainable development goals because it is meeting our day-to-day need with a minimum depletion of environment resources. Secondly, if you go with the sustainable development goals launched by the UN, that we have several sustainable goals in there, that we should reduce poverty, we should have clean sanitation, we should have a good air quality, water quality. There are a number of SDG goals provided by that UN Council. So we are trying to meet all those goals, whatever possible in our with our research or with our resources. And of course, we cannot do all the things because there are strategic goals related to economics. There are strategic goals related to several other social and other perspective. So if all the persons are working towards meeting this SDG, that can be a very good contribution to save our environment.
Thank you, sir. As you mentioned about sustainable development, we are getting it like it is. It provide if we adopt the sustainable development, the approach, then it provide us a responsible approach to to consume or produce or doing any kind of activities. And as per it, you mentioned about the UN sustainable goal SDG. So they actually put a lot of concern that can be handled with lots of people, and it should be cumulative responsibility of everyone to deal with the problems that is actually exist with our in our society. So the we can understand about the problem, we can understand about everything that is actually exist in our society and our environment, and we can also understand about the economical point of view. But if we look at the solution, then what are the solution to in context of to curb environmental deterioration?
So because I think most of us know what is environmental degradation because everybody is talking about this. We are all talking about climate change, its impact, heat waves, cold waves, drought, flood. So we know that things are going in a wrong direction. That's why we are facing a lot of problem. Previously, why we are not facing this type of issues? Although flooding happened in the Ganga River basin, there is a other issues coming up, but we are not facing at that much rate. But now, as I can see that population is going up, city is expanding towards other areas where we should not build our houses and other thing. So that's why these problems are going on. So answers are with us. If you see that what are the answers, what are the solution, we know this. That if you see in our past data set like 30 years, there is a good coverage of forests are there. But now that forest covers are lost. If you see Varanasi city, can you see a area where we get a good patch of forest or plantation? Just think where we are having a lot of good plantation patches. See, if you see our BHU campus, if you see our this all are decreasing now. We have now very less forest cover. So why we are not doing a city planning? We are talking about our smart cities, all those things. So why we are not having a plan so that we can have a both things in the city? Why we are not leaving space where we can having a good patch of forest, a good patch of trees, or good patch of plants? Why we are not building a good park, good this type of activities that is coexist with the human? Why we are just blocking all the natural drainage to our river system? Why government is not looking on these issues? Why they are not giving strict instructions so that they should people should not build a house on the drainage system, on the sea system, on the Varuna system? So what I can say that one of the things that we should promote or we should do is like we should have a very good cover of forest. We call as afforestation. Like deforestation is reduction of forest cover. Afforestation is like again recreating those forests. So why we should not having those areas or things that we can have a more forest cover or we can at least enhance that green cover in our cities. So afforestation is one answer that we should increase our forested area. Then again, if you see the agricultural crops, again, it is not fault of the farmers. that they are using lot of fertilizer, lot of pesticide because they want to increase yield. They want to get income from selling those crops. So they should be trained with respect to alternative solutions. They should get subsidy on this thing so that they go for the mixed cropping system. In mixed cropping system, what happened? That suppose you are going to plant uh, paddy or wheat, then in mixed cropping, what we are doing, we are having paddy a- and we are adding mustards also in that. So mustard is a very good nitrogen fixer. Nitrogen fixer means it is a very good source of natural fertilizer generation. So if you see the roots of the mustard plant, it called we call as legume plant. And in leguminous plant, they have a nitrogen fixing bacteria in their roots. So they fix atmospheric nitrogen inside the soil. So your fertilizer requirement will be less as compared to uh, other crops. So we should promote mixed cropping. In mixed cropping, we will have natural source of fertilizer. Again, we have a uh, your crop of interest. For example, wheat, you can put some other leguminous plant like pea or something else, so that it will fix your nitrogen in the soil. So you don't have to put lot of fertilizer or synthetic fertilizer in for your agriculture. Similarly, crop rotation. Generally, what happened previously, people are following this crop rotation, but now I don't know because of high pressure or high things that they are not going for this crop rotation practices. And otherwise, what happened after means you can say December or October when there is a harvesting of this paddy crop, then there is a 2 months of fallow time. Fallow time, and that fallow time generally farmers do some they put some leguminous plant like peas, like other things, so that pea or that mustard, what they cause, they cause nitrogen fixation in the soil. And after 2 months, they just cut it and then they crop their other crops like wheat. So that crop rotation practices somehow now reduced, and that's why we are using more fertilizer in the agriculture system. But again, I told you can eat only that is with as compared to have to your capacity, depend on your capacity. You cannot eat more than your capacity. Like if your capacity is eat four chapatis, you can eat four chapatis. You cannot eat more than four or five, maybe one more you can eat, but you cannot eat 10 because your capacity is only 4 to 5. Same thing happened with the crops also. It absorbs only some portion of fertilizer. It cannot absorb all. Suppose you that crop need only 2 unit of fertilizer, but you put 4 unit. The 2 unit will be absorbed by the crops. 2 unit will be in the soil. And whenever there is irrigation, there is a rainfall, then that will be mixed up and go inside the groundwater. So that practices should be well communicated to the farmers so that they can go with the mixed cropping and crop rotation, all those things. Secondly, if you go with the drip irrigation, no, you can now see drip irrigation practices. It is quite a good practice that now farmers, some of the farmers are using in Rajasthan, in other parts of the country where they have less amount of water in the field. So, like in Rajasthan, annual rainfall is very less. So, what they are doing this drip irrigation. So, instead of doing a flood irrigation, open the tube well and giving water to the system, what they are doing now, they are having a special type of pipes where water is going drop by drop to that particular crop. And because it is going drop by drop, not like a flood of water. If you see the tubewell, whenever you on the tubewell, you get a quite a good amount of water. Flow rate is very high. That quantity is very high. Volume is very high. But if you see drip irrigation, they are putting only drop by drop to the root, and it is a long pipe. There is a several holes in that, and that is linked to particular crop, and drop wise water is going inside that crop. So in deep irrigation we are saving a lot of water, and it helps to protect our groundwater also. So drip irrigation can be a good choice. Then you should go for the recycled products. Recycled products means Suppose I don't know how many of you using recycled product, because now with the bag and plastics people have started using recycled product like made up of waste materials. Now they are started using, but still there is a no permanent ban of this plastic in outside, like in USA, UK. If you see that they are now completely switched to the recycled product, they are not using plastics, and even their plastics is made up of recycled. So when it goes inside the water for a long time, it get degraded because their material is like that. So they are completely switched to the recycled product, but still we are not that much interested in doing that, we can say, because whenever you go to the market, you buy something, you don't go with your own bag. Most of the people don't go with their own bag. Whenever you are buying something, you always ask for the give me of one plastic, एक थैला दे दो उसमें डालेंगे. So for that shopkeeper give you that plastic and then you put it, and I don't know whether you are reusing that plastic again or not. I think most of you not. Whenever you buy some vegetable, you just take the vegetable out, put that plastic, wrap it and put in the dustbin. Don't use those plastics or plastic bag again. So we need to switch to recycle product. Otherwise, it will be a big problem. That's why most of our drainage, our floodplains are blocked. Why they are blocked? Because of this plastics. Secondly, with your clothes, with your cycle, with your several other things, you don't use used product. Mostly you want, new cloth. I want new cloth. So why you are not shifting to those recycled product? If it is in good quality, you can use it. So it will reduce the, how those clothes are made. That is made up of plant, that is made up of fibers, that up of silk. All those fibers are getting from natural resources. And if you are using every year new clothes, new things, then it will create a issue. Samely, conserve water. Whenever we are going for the bath, whenever going for the washing clothes, we are using plenty of water. But that actually that amount of water is not needed. That even you can take a bath in one bucket of water, but you take two buckets or sometimes three buckets. Up to you. You depend on your mood actually. I can say. So this type of thing that we can do to save our planet, save our resources, and stop or reduce our, you can say this environmental degradation things. So I think most of you know heard about it, 3R, 4R, 5R. So if you know what is this 3R, 4R, 5R thing, so what is this R system? Why we call R? So because these are 4 hour or 5 hour systems, so in this what we can do, we generally say it is refuse. If you don't want thing or it is not required much, don't just say no to this. Because what happened, something is coming to you, even it is not required fully to you, you just buy this. Suppose your mobile is working fine, but no, now fashion is going on. People are having more advanced mobile phone. Let's go buy it. But this is not required. You say no, simply no to that. Whenever you have bad phone with you, phone is not working properly, then go for a new phone, new things. Otherwise, this no is very tough to say. So try to be good in saying no. No, I don't want this. It is not required. Go with your plastic. Even the shopkeeper is giving you plastic. Just say no. I have my bag. Then reduce. Don't generate too much waste. If you are buying so much thing, then try to donate your old things to the poor people, to the other in need. So try to donate, or even if you don't want to donate free of cost, sell it. OLX, sell it over there so that those who have less money can use, so they don't have to buy a new one. So try to reduce your things that you are not going to use. Again, reuse, that 5R concept, that reuse means that if you have something like your bags, try to use again and again. just use your old bags, clean it, make it good, use that. So try to having in your mind that how we can reuse that product. If you have a cold drink bottle, how I can use that cold drink bottle. If you have too many cold drink bottle, how we can make that cold drink bottle a small pot for a plants. So many things are now available on social media also. You can see and how you can reuse, you can focus on those. So it will reduce your waste also. Then recycle. Again, you have a batteries, then you can use it again. You can uh, means if you have a waste or something, how you can recycle that waste. So you know most of the technology, you can use that waste in your crops, you can or your plants. Again, now in US, I saw that they have a small, uh, instrument or pot. They call it compost pot. So whenever they have food waste, they put in that pot or that instrument, and there is a liquid provided to that. It's called fermented liquid. So they just put packet inside that and left it for 1 week or something, and after 1 week they get a biofertilizer, and they use that biofertilizer in their plants. And because of that biofertilizer, the quality of food that they are getting is quite a uh, good quality as compared to that we are getting it with the synthetic fertilizers. So quality of that things are now that food is now improved, that we are called as organic. So if you see the cost of organic food, it's much costlier as compared to the cost of that synthetic food. If you see in Delhi, there are two type of vegetables available. One is very cheap. If you see cauliflower, it's a big size cauliflower and cost is only 20-25 rupees or 30 rupees. And again, if you're going for the organic cauliflower that is sold by only few shops, that cost is around 80 rupees. So why that is 30 rupees? Because the sewage that is generated by the industry, that goes into that crops, and because of heavy metal, lot of fertilizer, lot of pesticide, those crops are getting lot of nutrients and that grow up. But because of heavy metal that is accumulated inside the spinach, inside your cauliflower, inside your bottle gourd and all those things. So if you eat that vegetable, you will get high heavy metal contamination in your body. You will get lot of other things in body, lot of disorder, stress you will get is because of eating those vegetables. And why cost is less? Because in within 1 month or 2 month time that crop grow up. But when you grow organically, it will take 4 months. That's why cost is very high. So if we have a plant in our house that can help in become composting those uh, waste, then you can get a good manure for your crops, and this way you will reduce all your waste also. So there are number of practices available that we call as 5R, because it is like um, uh, refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, and rot. We call as rot because most of the waste we are generating from our household. So this we can do at a individual level, that we can do. We cannot always criticize government and other people that they are not making policy, they are not giving strict rule. मतलब मार खाने पे ही काम करेंगे. सो इट्स लाइक हमें थोड़ा सा ये सोचना होगा कि एट इंडिविजुअल लेवल हम क्या कर सकते हैं. गवर्नमेंट डू देयर प्लान्स, दे विल do their this policy things that should not make a house in the floodplain. They should check periodically who's making a house in the floodplains, and if they are making, they should destroy those houses because that is illegal. So this type of policy should be taken by the government, but it takes time. So this 5R concept you can do at your own level. I can see one candidate asked some questions, so I will give you answer. I think there is a student asked me a question. Can you read it, Piyush, please?
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Uh, Participant Nandini Kothari, she asked about does sustainable development apply to all sphere of activity, and what can I do as a citizen for development to be more sustainable?
I
This is
think
the question.
Nandini, I already gave you some answer to your question that as a citizen, what I can do. So I just tell that if in at an individual level we can start doing this 5R concept. We should recycle, we should no to the shopkeeper, we should go with our own bag, and all those things that we can protect. And you can see in most of these spheres we can apply these sustainable development goals, like you can go with your economically viable things, like environmentally sound thing, and then socially acceptable thing. So these are the mainly three spheres that we are talking about. So in social sphere, if we how we can reduce poverty. So if we started doing a business for recycled product, like if you see now bags are coming up of recycled product, papers are coming up recycled product. Now small cottage industries are coming up making small jute bags and all those things. So at a social level we can do that, we can increase their income. Those practices are environmentally sound, and they will also get money in very low cost. So we start those type of activity in environmental sound thing. We have number of technologies now available, like biofertilizer already talk about that. If we have a biofertilizers for this, we can also start awareness camp to the farmers so they will not extract lot of water from the groundwater. We can have awareness campaign to industries also, that although you are getting lot of benefit, but still you are not treating your sewage or industrial effluent, and you are directly releasing to the Ganga river. So it will create lot of problem to the ecosystem, and that same water we are drinking after treating it at the plant. So even if you go with the treatment, it is not treated for heavy metals. If you are taking that groundwater or surface water directly from the Ganga river basin, because they do just bleaching, ozone pass, and all those things they do. They don't do anything related to heavy metal removal. So if you are drinking that water directly, then we get heavy metal contamination in our body. So indirectly, those industries affecting river ecosystem, affecting us, because I don't know whether all of you are using AquaGuard or not. So in AquaGuard, there is some filters available that can reduce heavy metals. But what is the problem of AquaGuard or RO, that it create a lot of wastage. For one glass of water, it uh, waste around 2 glass of water. So RO is wasting a lot of water. But if you see, if you are drinking that water directly, then you are getting heavy metal. And why we are getting that heavy metal? Because of those industries. And all industries is by Ministry of Environment, that they suggested that you should have a proper functional sewage treatment plant in your industry. And after treating those effluent, then you can release to the environment. But they are not following. If I visited 2 or 3 industries, all their sewage treatment plant are not working, and they are directly releasing to the river system. So if we are releasing those heavy metals and everything, the river system, and indirectly it is coming to us also. So as a industrialist, we can say that they should have your STP, functional STP, sewage treatment plant. Government should do a proper job, so that if they are having a non-functional STP, they should be penalized. So this type of activity should be there, and there should be a proper corruption control in this.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your valuable and useful words in this context, environmental deterioration. Uh, this is last lecture of this lecture series on digital carbon emission. So, sir, do you have anything else to share with us?
I think I don't have, but if participants want to ask something, then they are free to ask me. I'm here. I hope they're equally
So,
excited like
yeah.
me to conserve or protect our environment. So if they have any question, please ask. कोई भी question आप पूछो.
From participants, if you have any question, please ask. I think no one has any question. So
Okay.
I should wind up this session. So this one was the last session of this current going lecture series, and at last we are going to conduct a workshop, 3 days workshop on designing environmental friendly graphics for digital advertising material. So it is being held between 27th and 29th August 2021. So if the registration would like, if the registration will require to for the participation, then the link will be given you through WhatsApp or email. So I think we should wind up this session. And at last, I would like to thank you, sir, from my side and from Dr. Manish Arora, sir. And I would like also thank you to all the participants for giving your valuable time for this session. So thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Manish and Dr. Manish Arora for conducting such a nice session for last 1 month. And I hope participants get a lot of benefit from this, and I hope that they will utilize at least some of the practices. And you can also say that aware your family, aware your friends, so that they cannot do this type of activity. And because in this way we can conserve our environment, because it is not a one man job. It is like a group job, or it's like a citizen job to protect our things. So thank you so much for giving me opportunity to deliver some of my thoughts. And I hope we will meet again someday. So thank you so much.